DCM Works. Seek the advice of a medical professional before consumption.
It was probably a song that reminded me of it, or I'd done an Arnold Schwarzenegger voice.
Writing is definitely an isolating thing.
From an outside perspective, that's weird as
It makes
fuck.
us look really mental.
But that is
because of what it kind of said about art.
I had fun in bits. There were fun bits.
We went and bought a value pack of straps.
Oh my god, we did. There's a big lesson here to learn about storytelling. Hey guys, welcome back to the Alpha Podcast, official podcast of Digital and Creative Media Works. My name is David DCM, creative director, lead writer, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Ben.
Hello.
I did that all in one breath for some reason.
Nice.
It was a foolish move, if I'm being honest with you.
Professional swimmer, big lung capacity
Huge
here.
lungs. That are I'm really good at something else that involves lungs.
What, like
I don't want to.
singing?
Yep, definitely that.
All right.
I've got very good. What do they call it when you can like breathe in and out really well, like in like a cycle?
You're very good at breathing.
No, there's like a word for it. It's like
Respiration.
No, it's like circular breathing. Oh, it's got a name. Whatever. This week, it's not important. This week we're talking about the storytelling of Inside Out.
So, Riley, how was the first day of school?
Fine, I guess.
Did you guys pick up on that?
Sure did.
Something's wrong. Signal the husband.
Uh-oh, she's looking at us. What did she say?
Wow.
Yeah.
That was very
Well, you upset me because you were
Right, okay.
You rushed me into it because you wouldn't let me finish.
Sure. Well,
With
I
the
mean,
thing with
I'm not going to let you finish
breathing.
something that's inherently pointless.
That's not pointless. There's a whole thing. It's like circular. It's like thing that musicians do. It doesn't matter anyway.
You do it when you play like the didgeridoo, don't you?
Yeah.
Like that thing where you breathe in
where
through
you-
your nose and out through your mouth at the
That's
same
good at
time.
like the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a name, right?
Difficult.
Challenging.
Anyway. Yeah.
Look, so the reason that we're talking about this film now is that basically it's been out for like a while now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, some
And it was one of those films that came out and everyone was like, but
yeah,
then
and no one went to see it.
but like the longer it's been out, the more people are like, this film is that's really good.
It's a good
I
film.
really like this film.
Yeah.
It's so good. And then I'm like, yeah, okay, I guess we'll watch it.
And there's plenty of memes.
Look, it's bloody
Got
full of
plenty of
chocolates with
memes.
memes, mate. And it's, I think you hit the nail on the head when you were being facetious. You're like, the whole thing's just a metaphor.
It's
But
just one big old metaphor.
But it's also kind of not a metaphor because metaphor is the wrong word. It's more of just
What
like
is
a
this,
very
a simile,
no. It's more of just
The
a big. It's a
fucking-
big analog. Like it's not.
an analog.
Yeah.
Fucking turn
So,
the knob, analog
turn the-
dials.
Sorry. Well, that's a
We
good
ain't
joke.
digital here. We're
Okay, are you
shit.
done?
Wait, yeah, we're digital
Are you
creative.
done?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm good.
That kind of got away from you. at the end,
Analog
didn't it?
creative media works.
Kind of really got away from
ACM
you.
works.
Yeah, I don't really think you had it in the first place. Point being, it was one of those films that
Big old metaphor.
everyone was like, "Go watch it." Why haven't you watched it, guys? You need to watch it. So finally, we got around to seeing it.
Yeah.
And I feel like it. I didn't not enjoy it, but I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would.
I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I think by the end of it, I was like somewhat thoroughly. I was like, yeah, it's a good film. It's, it does some cool things. It has some good metaphors.
Yeah.
Has some good funny one-liners.
It's funny,
Overall,
yeah.
I think it's a little misguided in the sense that she should have been older.
And also,
I feel like the whole like joke where they were making where they're like, what could possibly go wrong when someone turns 11? I was like, puberty?
yeah.
See,
it-
I can't. This is
see,
from
it's-
perspective of someone who went through puberty like at a very, very early.
Yeah, I
age.
was gonna say you had a beard.
I
when
had
you
a
were,
beard and
10.
like yeah.
Yeah, but no, I just think I will. I mean, the whole point of it was that it's like every time you like have an experience that like matures you, the stuff that changes, and you think it's gonna be fine, and then something else changes.
Well, I think it's the story of like going from being a child to being someone with more complex memories because she doesn't become an adult because they end the film on the joke of she hasn't gone through the puberty button, and it's like, wait, I thought this film was about puberty.
Yeah, but it's
Like,
not. It's about like just growing
It's
up.
about the bit before puberty, which doesn't actually matter.
It's about real.
It's about just not being a fucking toddler anymore, which is like, okay.
It's about realizing that things are a little complex, and you can have things can be both happy and sad at the same time.
Yeah.
And things can be multiple things at the same
I
time.
guess it was just like going from, like, it's almost as if they knew a major criticism of their film was people being like, oh, there's more than just the 5 basic fucking
Yeah, and then that was
emotions.
kind
and
of
then
the
they're like,
point.
oh, guess what? We knew that.
We
And
got
we
you
have
good.
we have the multiple combined.
It was a bit like it
Um,
felt like at times they were sort of like you thought you had us, but we got where'd your
got you
criticism? It turns
Yeah.
out we've thought of it already, and I was like, but just make the premise a little tighter. Don't be like that.
I mean,
every
like
time.
it's the kind of thing where they bounced around between so many different ideas that it didn't really feel like there was a single focus except for just emotions, aren't they funny?
Yeah.
Being sad can be good occasionally. You're
Which
like,
is like,
sure.
yeah, obviously. But like, I feel like it was one of those things where if you were a kid, this would have been a really good film because it's very much like in that vein of, I feel like you would probably have learned something if you were a kid seeing this at the age that the main character is.
Yeah.
I think
More
I
so
think
than
if-
someone who's in their early 20s and has already gone through
was
this
gonna say,
shit.
we've
It's just
gone
watching
through-
it like, it looks
we already
nice.
understand emotional theory. Like we're not,
Yeah.
we don't need.
I did a semester of psychology.
Yeah, I
Once.
did it in high school, so I've got a pretty. But like even like as an adult, like you get an idea that emotions are fairly complex. Whereas I feel like as a kid, there isn't much stuff going around that's like this, where it's like, oh, there's kind of a happy ending, but not
Yeah.
really, and like things are maybe not as simple as you want them to be, and then but it turns out that when you realize they aren't simple, even though you didn't want them to be complex, it turns out the complexity makes things better sometimes.
Yeah, it's the idea that like, yeah, shit gets harder, but it gets better.
Shit gets harder, but it gets different, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's worse.
Yeah.
It just means it's different. Which is kind of one of those things that, like, that's why adult stuff is good. Like, content that's made for adults, not made for kids, is good because it knows that that's complexity and doesn't, like, play that down.
Yeah.
Which is why I think this is good for kids because it doesn't, like... I mean, it's in some ways patronizing in some aspects, but I think, like, generally speaking, its treatment of if its material is not... Like, it doesn't condescend too much.
Yeah, I think that's the worst part of the film is just how, and I mean by design, how one-dimensional all the characters are.
Yeah.
All the characters in her head. It's the kind of thing where it's just like, yeah, you understand that, like, this, anger is just angry, and it's like caution is just like cautious. I guess it's not really an emotion. It's
Well,
just
he's
like,
anxiety, isn't he? He's fear. He's not
yeah, no,
caution,
no,
he's
it's
fear.
I think he's
The
called
weedy guy.
caution.
The weedy guy
Yeah,
is fear.
yeah, but they call him caution.
No, he's called fear.
He's called fear.
He's called fear.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought he was caution.
I only know he's called fear because I use his Skype emoji sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought.
Deep cuts.
I mean, because his character in this wasn't really fear. It was more just like, at least when they presented him, he was just like, oh, it's just being cautious.
well, he was
Which is
supposed to
why
be.
I was like, yeah, he's
yeah.
caution.
Well, he was supposed to.
He's meant to be
That's
fear.
not
I
an
get that.
emotion. Caution.
I
is
know.
not an
No,
emotion.
exactly. That's why I was like,
Yeah.
a bit one-dimensional.
I thought disgust was fun. I really quite liked her.
Yeah,
time.
that's like not an emotion though. That's
Yeah, that's again, but I guess neither is fear technically. I don't
yeah.
know. It's like
no,
it's-
that's why I was like, they're
Yeah.
plucking straws. Like I get it, happy, sad, angry. You got 3 of them.
You got
right?
Happy Sad Danny DeVito. It's pretty much what that felt like.
Was that Danny DeVito?
No, it wasn't, but it fucking
I
felt
was gonna
like it.
say, yeah, I
feel like they modeled
did
him
not
on
notice
that.
it being
No.
Danny DeVito.
I don't think it was Danny DeVito.
Damn, I kind
You
of
would have noticed it was Danny DeVito.
You would have noticed immediately. Like
You'd have been like, "Is that Danny fucking
You'd be like, "Is
DeVito?"
that Danny
It would
DeVito?
have pulled you straight out of it. Yeah,
Jesus, yeah, that would have ruined the film.
that'd be funny.
Yeah, but like disgust was just sort of. She was more like, what is it? What's one of the what's the sin that's like vanity?
Yeah, vanity.
Yeah, she was like that more than disgust. Really, she was just like every teenager ever. Kind of like David has left the building. I would like to point out. I'm talking to no one right now. I felt like she was more. I'm just gonna scream it at you. I felt like she was more. Sure, David. Get me a beer. we're gonna wait for David to get back. We're good. Fine.
Why did you stop talking?
I would do like I'm normally okay at talking when you just fuck off, but this time you just stayed. You just left. You left me, David. You left me hanging.
I'm back at the mic, baby.
I can't handle this audience with only myself.
This is part of our new segment on the show called
David gets a beer for us.
David
because
throws
he
Ben in-
forgot to do it.
at the start of the episode because he was drinking coffee. I still have coffee left, so I'm gonna try and skull that.
I have to start drinking coffee because uni is starting up. Anyway, I have to start drinking coffee.
What does that have to do with university?
so I can fucking exist.
Oh.
Because I get tired very quickly. Anyway.
Yeah, because life is exhausting. I did want to talk about actually something that I really thought was interesting in this film, and I also, before we get into it, it is important to note that I did cry at the end
I didn't because
because you're an unfeeling.
I cry at I cry at the end of some films. Some films fuck me up. Like I cried at the end of La La Land, which you haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
It's a mistake.
Hey, I've been busy.
I cried at the end of Allied, which was a garbage movie, but I still cried at the end of it. Kids films generally don't cry at the end of them.
Toy Story 3.
I watched Kubo and the Two Strings, cried at the end of that, so I guess.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to think of. Yeah, no, I don't usually get too. Oh, that's not true. I'm really bad
You're an
because I
emotional
don't.
baby.
Well, because I don't feel anything normally. But then it's like films.
Oh yeah, you get
Yeah.
yeah. It's the kind of thing where you bottle it up during your life, and then like something just hits you in the right way, and you're like,
And I go from being a normal person to being a mess. Yeah. But so it's one of those things where I was watching this film and I thought that the solution to getting Joy back was dumb.
what?
The
Just
boyfriend clone. The magic
that
bag?
was-
Why was the bag then magic?
there were so many things. That was a case where when they introduced him, I was just like, he's gonna be a thing. He's just like, I would die for Riley. Like, yeah, he's gonna die for Riley at some point. There's
not-
gonna be some storyline
Can we
where
talk
he
about
dies.
the
for Riley.
implications of the way that this system works? Like, if
No,
Joy...
I just thought the funniest bit of the ending was just seeing all of them just like fucking fly around as she like launched. Like I wanted to see like body parts flying across the screen as like all of the imaginary boyfriends just like face plant into this like solid.
That would have
steel
been
platform.
amazing.
I was like, I want to see limbs. I just want to see death.
I was just
We got
confused.
the next best thing. A bunch of them just flying across the screen.
My
And then-
confusion was if one of them had fallen into the
into the pit.
like it. My confusion there is say Joy falls into the pit. Does that mean that Riley can never feel joy again ever? Like if she faded in
She
there,
stayed in there.
is that just like permanent depression? Like
Yes.
that's fucked up.
Yeah, that is fucked up.
Like
It's
it's one
almost
of
like that's why they stay in the HQ.
yeah.
No, I
Funny.
thought I was like,
That just seems like a weird premise to have.
well, that was
exist.
the one thing that for me, it's kind of annoyed me the most, given how old she was, because depression when you're 10, it's not common. Like it happens.
Yeah.
You can get depressed as a baby technically.
But she wasn't depressed. But that's sad. It's different from
she was-
sadness.
Well, no, they were making no, because they were making they were most definitely making the analogy to depression. Because like
Yeah, but they weren't saying that she was. They weren't saying she was depressed. They were saying that she was like switching off. Like it was more.
she
that
couldn't
was,
feel happy
it was
or
more-
sad. That's
Yes,
like
she was dissociating.
that
kind of
is
thing.
like definition depression.
Yeah, I realize
is
that.
you can't.
But for kids, that's the only version of that they have. Like as an adult, you can have major depressive disorders, and there are various different depressive disorders.
Yeah.
Whereas mostly kids just have that.
Yeah, but it's not when you're 10. It's when you're like 14.
Sure, but like
When you've hit puberty.
anyone can.
Because a lot of it
I realize
happens
that,
because
but
of puberty.
anyone can be anything at any time.
Well, that was the way it annoyed me because I was like, you're making this film which you're obviously trying to encompass a large audience to be like, we're trying to send a message to everyone, but it's like, making it quite. I mean, obviously, for the story to exist, they needed to have some
Yeah.
complication with her emotions, and the easiest one is just like just make her depressed, or just make her like lose emotion, which is depression.
Well, yeah. Well, it's like she can't. Yeah, it's
she
interesting,
can't
isn't it?
feel.
Well,
She can get angry.
But what's interesting is that, see, what I kind of liked is that I really like that analogy for when you are in that kind of a space where you don't feel, it's not that you don't feel sad or happy, it's that you let yourself be ruled by the other emotions.
Oh yeah, if you ignore the fact that she's 11 or 10 or whatever, if you ignore that and you just take it from like a person's mind and like joy and sadness running off,
Very
that's a
strong.
really good analogy.
Very strong, yeah,
like
very
that's really
strong.
good. Like that, it's obviously one of the things they were aiming for, and like you can appreciate that. It's just combined with other things, like finding the imaginary friend is kind of weird,
and then
like
can we talk about, so I have a lot of problems with this. So there's a
Right.
pit where they put memories in, and then that's where the long-term memories go to like rot and fade, whatever.
if there's like a memory they don't need,
Yeah. So, and
the
that's
mind workers.
That's not how memory works, though. This is, well, actually, okay. So to be fair, it depends on the memory model you subscribe to.
Right.
That's theoretically how the working memory model works. So anything you don't need, there's like churn. So it's like at a firm, it's like churn of clients. Eventually, if a client doesn't need it, they'll like disappear.
Right.
Until eventually you have like a core set of clients. It's that kind of thing with memory. So it's like working memory theory. But the
Analogies.
problem is that we don't know how memory works exactly, and every model is different. So
Well,
when you
they're
put-
obviously just then taking an idea.
that's what I mean. But then, so don't they could have just done it a little more subtly, instead of like all of these memories going down there and then eventually they fade and die. And same with like emotions that get stuck there. It should have been such that maybe it's not that they would have faded. Like maybe Joy could have stayed there forever, but she wouldn't have faded away. She would have just been trapped.
Yeah.
In the or like maybe she's Like, it's one of those things where if she's trapped down there, it means that all of the memories down there.
Well, no, it's a weird thing where like if you actually think about how the pit works, it makes no sense. Because the only memories that were like fizzling and fading away were the ones on the top.
That's what I mean.
Which means those are the most recent ones that have been put in.
Yeah.
Technically, it should be the ones all the way at the bottom that are fizzling away. And
Yeah,
the
like a
whole
game of
surface,
Tetris.
Yeah, and the whole surface should just like
Which
shift
would have been cooler
downwards.
because then the distance they need to travel to get out would have increased over time.
But no, they
and then it
didn't.
would have become progressively harder. And what you would have got is like a really interesting end sequence where you've now got, you know, maybe Joy's about to reach. She's about in the rocket if you want to keep that, which
Sure.
is fine.
Yeah.
Let's keep it. Why not? She's about to reach it and she misses and she's like, "Damn it!" And he's like, "It's fine. We nearly got there. We just need to sing louder." And then they're going up and then the whole ground goes down and then they're like the progressive complication.
Yeah, I feel like that would have just like drawn that section out, which was the
Yeah, which
worst
was the
part
worst
of
part of the film.
Yeah.
I want to say though as well, one of the things
Everything
that
with the imaginary friend was goddamn
the
atrocious.
abstract joke shit me to tears. You know. And
Oh my god,
And
they
here's
were the
why.
best part of the film.
No. Here's why.
Why?
Because that exact scene has been done before in Doctor Who. Almost beat for beat.
What, the whole facts and opinions thing?
No.
There's a few
No,
abstract.
in the abstract hallway. You know when it's like it becomes abstract and then everything is like frozen in the air and things get weird?
Oh, like they become 2D and stuff.
Well, not that specifically, but yeah, also that.
Right, yeah.
Whole sequence just ripped straight from a Doctor Who
Oh, that's
episode.
good.
Which I was like, yeah, I guess it was not a great episode and they did a better job of it, but it's just a treatment that we've seen before.
Yeah.
Um
I thought
there
you
was
meant-
some cool
I
ideas.
thought you meant abstract jokes as in like all of just like the meta jokes.
Oh no,
they
all
put
of that
in.
was great.
Yeah, that was all fantastic.
I was confused though as to why Amy Poehler's character Joy, why she was. So she was the protagonist of the film,
Right.
and yet she was learning. This is where I get confused with how the system that they propose works because Riley's emotions.
Decomposing
Dictate-
inside out.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So Riley's emotions dictate how she behaves. So the more
Right.
mature her emotions are, the more mature her emotional responses.
Yeah.
But and her this is where I get confused. So then the islands of personality are significant memories that form,
Like
Her
personality
identity.
Yeah, traits.
but those personality traits, up until this film, or up until this point in time in her life, have been stable. I get they've always existed until they. So do they evolve and grow, or do they once they're made, do they just stay the same? Those islands.
It's probably what I gathered is that like when she's like doing a thing related to that island, it like whirs into action and starts doing.
And so changes through that.
Yeah, and like it sort of becomes active, and I guess like if she doesn't use something for
Eventually
long
it will
enough,
fade.
it'll like fade and crumble and
See,
like
that makes
fall
more
apart.
sense. So I was
Yeah.
getting confused as to when.
And then like
but
the
those
core
are
memory
tied
would,
to the core memories.
the core memory would get spat out
Right.
because when they try to put like when they're just like, oh, we need like we were out, there's no more core memories. They just stop trying to put things in, and
And
it
it
starts
doesn't
just
work
like
because it's
spitting
not
them out.
because they're not associated with an island.
Yeah,
Right. So how does she make an island by making a core memory?
by making a core memory, which is like a
Right.
a big thing.
Yeah, like a life event,
Yeah.
like a node in your life, because that is how personality works a lot
Yeah.
of the time. You have like nodes in your life where like a big event will happen that shapes you.
Mm.
It's more subtle than that in real life.
Not really a
but-
big event, just like a
Well, no, but an event that is significant in
Right.
some way.
Yeah.
But the other thing too is that this is where I get confused because the
David
premise.
gets confused at the child's film.
Well, so they're in the control room,
Right, they're at the HQ.
and then they have the workers who are.
So the workers for me is just like the subconscious things. The
So
bit,
they're
the bit
just
that
the-
your brain just does. So
Right.
like forgetting things. You
So
don't like
that's
you
all
don't
the-
you don't like actively forget.
So that's
things.
just like all the autopilot functions.
Yeah.
But so where do those people come from? Are they just
They're probably just that's just
they're
part of the
just
brain.
generated? They're part of the brain.
Yeah, they're just in the
Right.
brain.
So then, what was Cloud City?
Cloud City.
You know, or was that an imagination?
That was an imagination.
Oh, okay. See, this is where I get really confused because the sequences,
Imagination Land was like a big part of the film.
yeah, the sequences mess me up a bit because
Yeah.
I forget which
I
order which
hated
things happen.
a lot of that.
But no, that's cool though because then that stuff lives in your mind, I guess, in some ways.
yeah, but it was like just sort of plonked next to the like long-term
like,
memory and
Which
stuff.
fucking kid is like Cloudland, where everyone's a cloud?
Where everyone's a cloud.
And some of them wear
I mean,
glasses. Clouds
her-
are wearing
her
glasses.
imaginary friend was like what, half cat, half element, half
Well, he was
dolphin.
and obese, I guess, or was he just an
No, I
elephant?
think that was the elephant cat.
And also a clown, I guess. What?
and he hit a rocket ship.
I feel like most
Powered by song.
don't most kids have imaginary friends, and the imaginary friend is just another kid.
My imaginary friend was a cube,
What?
a gelatinous cube.
Were you a broken child?
No, it was my imaginary friend. It was just a general Gillette because he could just like become anything.
I didn't have one.
He was-
I don't think.
Were you a broken child, David?
Yeah. Man. I don't know. I don't think I had one.
No, I didn't have like
If my mother walks back,
I don't think
door, I'll
anyone
ask her if I
has
had
like
one.
a. I don't know.
Some
a
people
human-
do,
I know
I feel
some
like.
people. Yeah, but they're just boring. That's just
Or
like.
are they just like psychopaths that imagine people?
Yeah,
to
I
talk
think
to?
so. I think
I don't know
most
if I-
imaginary friends you get.
I don't know if I even
they're
had-
cats and shit.
I don't remember having an imaginary friend, which is weird. Maybe I did. I don't know. Everyone else I've ever met is like, yeah, I had one that
Yeah,
was
I had
this,
one.
and I'm like, I don't think.
Gelatinous cube.
I don't think I did.
Forget his name. But I used to draw him and stuff.
Freddy.
Because I was not very good at drawing.
Freddy. You're still
So
not.
that's why he was a cube.
You're still not. Oh, you were like,
Yeah.
it's just boxes.
It's like, hell yeah, it's just squares.
That's a good move. I like that a lot, actually. But no, it's interesting to me that this. So first of all, I think the premise is solid.
Yeah.
I like the idea of doing the film like this. My biggest problem, well, most of my problems with it come from the execution of particular sequences that, just from like a storytelling perspective, they make sense, but they're not good. Like you know when she's dragging Joy's dragging Sadness through the long-term memory
Long-term memory.
storage. And
Yeah.
she's making the
It's
memory
like touching
sad.
yeah.
But what
that
we
makes
learn
no
is,
sense.
but what we learn is that, well, it does in hindsight, because what we learn is that she's not actually making the memory sad. She's just
She's rewinding them.
or she's turning them to the other version of the memory where it can be sad or happy.
She's turning them to like the sad because Joy at the end realizes that like all good memories have a sad side to them.
But does that mean that the other emotions can also turn memories? So you can make a memory into a memory of disgust? Like, how does that work?
I guess they can. They just don't explore it
Because that
the other
feels to me
memories.
like that's then you get into problems with the premise of the film.
I think part of that premise is like sadness is because at the start of the film, sadness is just randomly does it. And
Yeah.
Joey's like, "Why'd you do it?" She's like, "I don't know. I just felt like doing it." I think that's like a subconscious thing where like
Or sometimes you just feel sad.
yeah, or it's like she's like. Yeah, like she's trying to suppress her sadness by being all happy because that's like what her mom wants, and she's
But
like
then
trying to
it's a
suppress
random-
the sadness.
But in doing so, it makes other stuff
Yeah, it makes things worse.
right. That makes sense.
And I think it's a thing where it's just like the
okay.
other characters they just like Riley, like the HQ of the HQ.
Okay.
Like there's like a higher level
That makes
somewhere of like
the
who are
operating
technically controlling
The operating system.
the emotions, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like
Okay.
sadness needs to be sad because Riley should be sad right
but
now.
she's pretending to be happy. 'Cause
Yeah,
her
but
parents are
Joy is like,
asking her
no,
to.
we have to be happy.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
which-
Okay, that makes sense. So no, that does. I didn't realize that. Yeah, okay. So sadness is acting up and causing those memories to change.
Yeah.
But the net result of that seems to be nothing because Riley's already shut down. So are those
That's
memories
'cause
going to be
those
sad
are-
forever?
Yeah, but if she ever recalls them, they'll be recalled
That's sad.
sad.
So then here's my question. Could sadness have touched every memory in long term? And would that have just broken Riley? Like,
Probably, yeah.
It's so weird. I don't
Well,
know,
because
like
they're not meant to be in long term anyway. So like that's like an undocumented fucking
right, I guess.
That's
not
like
how-
a bug in
it's
the
not how
system.
the brain is meant to
Yes,
work.
Like they didn't design for that because they're not meant to leave HQ.
Right. But then no, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, okay. Yep. No, yeah, okay. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, yeah, okay.
There's probably a lot of ways you could like explain like schizophrenia in this system.
Context.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the cool thing about imagining it as a system, and that's how psychologists do it because it's the
Yeah.
only way you can. But that's a really cool idea if you could then.
I mean, it's a fairly bare bones model
Hmm.
because it's missing.
It's a reductionist perspective.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a fun.
It's a fun way to look at it.
Because like, how good if you just like killed.
Like anxiety would just be like where everyone's left except for
fear, and
I
he's
guess.
just like in control.
Or like fear and disgust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then like bipolar would be like just fear and happiness.
Or it's just anger and joy or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Or just yeah.
Man,
or
that's
like
so
just-
interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
See that I see that's kind
Or
of
like
like
split
that.
personalities could be like if there's multiple consoles, not just one.
Multiple control panels with
Yeah.
multiple groups of.
With multiple groups of 5. or
Oh,
whatever.
that's
Yeah,
cool.
like,
See,
there's lots
that's
of way of,
that's really
like,
cool.
multiple HQs, yeah.
It's such a cool premise. Yeah, that's really interesting, actually. And then you could have interesting stuff as well, where like, I feel like with the Islands of Personality, it would be interesting for them to do a few sequels where you go through the latest.
I
stages of
want the
Riley's
puberty
life.
sequel. I think that'd be funny.
Well, I think there's
What I think I want is I want a sequel where there are two main characters. So there's like two Rileys.
Mm-hmm.
And have like because we had some kind of interactions between the mother and the father, which I think were the best parts of the film.
They were
Like,
quite interesting.
They were really funny. Like especially just how like yeah, they did kind of like heavily stereotype
Yeah, it was
parts
quite
of it.
sexist
Like, it was
in
odd
some ways.
how, like, I found it kind of obnoxious how, like, the mother's, like, sort of the person who was sitting in the middle on the mother was sadness, whereas
Yeah.
the person who was sitting on the middle and the father was anger. I
Yeah.
was like, sure, like,
Well, I
whatever,
guess-
film.
But I guess, but the truth is that at that point, yeah, no, I don't know. There was some stuff in that was fairly sexist, but I kind of was forgiving of it because it was trying to prove a point.
I know, like, I was forgetting about it because they didn't, because even then, all of the emotions in the adults were like, were all fairly mellow and, like, you know, like, working together and what.
Because they got to an emotional maturity point, and they all had seats. That was
Yeah.
So that was what I noticed about the difference between.
It was actually like a table.
It was like
yeah.
a bridge in a starship where everyone had a seat, and they were all at the table together
So
working.
another thing that's interesting. This is a theory that some people have suggested, and I hate it as a theory because I think it's a coincidence. The idea that if you look at the mother's mind, all of her emotions are female, quote unquote, or at
They'll
least
have-
anger. The anger is female. That's the main one we see. We see anger being female, and we also see.
They're all wearing wigs at least.
Well, we see anger explicitly in the mother, and we actually also see guilt. Not guilt. Fear, who is also female.
Yep.
Who are the only two male emotions in Riley's head. So it's like, okay, they're all female. And you look at
the only two male emotions in Riley's head. Yeah.
anger
Okay. No, I'm
and-
with you. Yeah.
anger and
Sorry, I
fear.
was just catching up.
the
yeah.
rest are female,
Uh-huh.
or at least female. Yeah. And if you look at the father's head, they're all male except for, I'm pretty sure, Joy, because Joy is just Joy with a mustache. Joy
Which
is
is
Joy is never given screen time, but if you look at Joy, it's literally just the same model as Riley's head,
just
but
kind
just
of
with a
amazing.
bushy mustache.
It's kind of amazing.
Like, it's obviously just a joke, but
Thick,
like,
great mustache. by the way.
yeah, and there's like no explanation as to whether they're all male. But then some people are like, well, if you look at Riley, her head is like, you know, it's 2 males and 3 females. So it's like, well, maybe she's transgender, or maybe she's this or that. And I was just like, maybe they just want to have diverse characters when they have 5 main.
Well, maybe
when they
they
have
were-
5 people, you know.
Maybe
It's
maybe they were like having 5 female voices might become hard to keep track of stuff.
and confusing, and instead we're just gonna genderize anger and fear as being male, because why not?
Because that's how people view them.
Yeah, and we're gonna
And-
have Joy being female because the main character is female, and Joy is kind of the analogy for Riley as a character.
It's-
And of course, Disgust is gonna be female because we want to play that character.
Because it's fun. I'm doing
And Sadness will have a female as well, because why not have 2 female main leads?
I'm doing a no fuck face.
Yeah.
People can't see it, but it's like, yeah, no shit. Because
Yeah, it's the kind of thing
if
where
you were gonna make a film, that's how you do it.
yeah,
Mm.
and it's like, you know, maybe it's just a case where all kids start like that, and then when they go through puberty, you know, when the gender hormones kick in,
Well, then it changes.
then they transition, and Joy grows a mustache, or in this
then
case,
it's like,
doesn't.
But then it's like, maybe if that doesn't happen, the balance doesn't have to be 100%. Or
Yeah.
like, and that's a fun way of thinking of it too. Is it's
When
like,
you look in the dog, they're all dogs. We don't know if they're male or female. They're just
yeah.
dogs.
And it's like, because turns out we're all just monkeys fucking.
Turns out emotions probably aren't gendered. It's just
It's a
you
film.
need voice actors.
They had to get voice actors.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to make someone sound androgynous.
yeah, and if
'Cause
they all
that's-
sound androgynous, they all sound.
The same, and you
Identical.
can't distinguish characters. Yeah, exactly. So it's just
that's
it's
the
a,
one thing where I'm like, look, it's just a filmmaking thing. Like, I think
yeah. No, you've done a very good job of
there is the side of just like, well, even if that wasn't their intent, you can still look into it that way, and you're like, yeah,
but at the same time, it's
the film stands well enough on
because
its
they
own
had to make
without
it
that
a
issue.
film. Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you there. I think that's a really good point. I did really enjoy this film, and I don't know. I guess I wasn't expecting to like or dislike it, but what I found is that when I came out of it, I was adequately satisfied that what they'd done with their source material and what they'd done with their concept
Yeah.
was coherent and interesting, and it gave me feelings.
Yeah,
like
when
I was emotionally invested.
Yeah, when the film came out, a lot of the media around it was like somewhat cynical. People were just like, "Oh, this is so contrived, this is so dumb," and because of that, I didn't really see it in the cinemas.
but it's enjoyable and
yeah, and then when I see it, it's just like, you know, the premise is actually cool.
And fuck,
the
it's hot.
premise. The premise is a fun, entertaining thing.
and fuck, it's heartwarming.
Yeah,
At the end
no,
when
it's
they're
cute.
like,
It's
yeah,
adorable.
it's it's
especially when it's like the
it's a heartwarming, earnest ending.
Yeah,
we
spe-
don't get that enough. There's no like wink to the camera from Captain America. It's a fucking
I
earnest ending.
liked it a lot because you're watching it and it's just like, well, sadness go up and control it because this is your moment. Everyone's like, why are you letting sadness go? And it's just like character development.
Yeah.
And then it's like they both go up to the console. You're like, oh wow, this is so cute and happy, and then it comes through and it's blue and yellow. You're like, okay.
Yeah, it's like it's a nice ending. And
Sure,
then,
yeah.
And then they're hugging their parent. Like she's hugging her parent. Like it's just it. We don't get enough in
And then we get
cinema
the really
these days.
the really good joke at the hockey game where she bumps into the boy.
Oh my god.
He's just like, girl.
the
thought that
best.
I was so glad that happened. I was like, man, that's really clever.
And I was like, yeah, that's puberty.
Yeah, that's what made me want, like, I just want a sequel
want a
where there
sequel.
are just two of them.
I want to see the
And
I
they
wanna
sort
see
of
two
interact.
sides of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just thought that it was such a it was just such a compelling way to tell like to give us an earnest ending that was fun and interesting and heartfelt. Because cinema these days, and like we've talked about this before on the show, but like Marvel and DC and all that stuff, it's like all so serious. It's it's serious, and then it's like, but we'll wink at the camera because
I mean,
it's a goof and a gaff.
It's just a good classic
it's just a heartwarming
hero's adventure.
It's lovely, and
There
I had
and back again.
Yeah, it's hashtag
People
Bilbo
change
Baggins.
at the end. You know, there's
Yeah.
development.
It's a good story.
And you get a good bit of development in most characters, like even with the parents.
And even
Although
yeah.
the payoff for the parents was like, oh, awesome, and then just like, oh, come on, with the whole like, she like looks at the memory and like throw it away, and you're like, yes, and then she's like, oh, maybe we'll have this for later. I was like, no,
Damn it, you fucked up.
you could have. It could have been a cool payoff, but you're like, no, I'm gonna keep it. I guess the payoff for that was the other woman that had the same. In the credits scene when it goes through a bunch of people, I think
I
one of
didn't
them,
watch
I
that.
forget who it was.
Netflix moved on to the next thing before that.
Right.
Yeah.
The oh really? You didn't see the credits? The credits was like the best part, honestly.
No.
They just went back to a bunch of different characters and like went into their minds. So like the person who was at the pizza place, like the goth chick with the hair, that was a good one.
Amazing.
And there's another character who has the exact same memory of the random, I don't know, Hawaiian dude at the helicopter. It's like, come fly with me.
Yeah.
She has like the exact same memory, and you're like, where is this from? Is it like a TV show or
Yeah,
something?
it's like an ad.
Yeah.
Amazing. No,
Good film. Yeah, enjoy it.
I had a good.
I didn't expect to enjoy it because I was like, no, dumb kids film.
but like,
it's a good dumb kids film.
I think it's the reason that we like stuff like Shrek and things like that is because it's just like it has.
I don't think you can compare anything to Shrek. Shrek is a
Shrek
masterpiece.
is, but like it's one of those things where like I don't know. I just really I enjoyed it, and it was heartfelt, and yeah, I just think it's a good film.
Yeah.
You should go see it. Like,
yeah,
if you haven't
I mean,
seen it,
I feel like not
cop
many
it.
people have.
Yeah, it's on Netflix, so cop it if you.
Yeah, it is on
yeah.
Netflix. Yeah.
Give it a peep. It's really fun. You got to kind of shoulder your way through the first 15 minutes. Once you've done that,
Yeah, it starts off.
it's a bit on the nose.
It's a bit slow.
But which
Yeah,
I
it's a
get
bit-
it. They have to
it's a
set
bit
up
too happy.
Well, the premise is fairly complex, so they've got to set it up before they
Yeah.
can get into the. Yeah, so no, it's good. I think check it out. But as always, Ben, it's that time of the day. Where can people find us?
I don't know.
Jeez, you know what? That was one of your best, actually. Honestly. Look, we're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. DCM Works and all those. DCM Works Social on Facebook. DCM at DCM_works on Twitter because they won't let me have DCM.works, and I don't know why.
Tisk.
I'm not impressed. Where else? Oh yeah, Patreon if you want to chuck us a buck. Big thanks
$1.
to Jordan, who's one of our top contributors at the moment.
Hooray.
Jordan C. I can never remember his last name, but maybe that's just his last
Cameron.
name. Nope.
Mm,
Carlos. Nope.
Carlos.
Kramer.
Christopher Robin.
That's not a last name. That's a character. That's from Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh.
And as always, this episode is brought to you by DigitalOcean. Now, if you go to dcm.work/ocean, you can get $10 of credit on us. They're a great service. Interesting note this week, though. If you do have an account with them, make sure you change the password.
That thing.
There was a leak of
If
some,
you have an
some
account
memory
with
dump.
anything, you should change it right now because
Yeah,
a whole
probably.
bunch of things got hit
leaked.
with
Yeah, go check.
DigitalOcean. Security warning.
Yeah, but also
Use
with
a password
DigitalOcean.
manager.
They did, use a password manager. But yeah, you get $10 of credit with us. Helps you out. You can get us. They're a server hosting service. They're really easy to use. Helps us out. Helps you out. You get $10 of credit. That's 2 months of hosting.
It's just a win-win-win.
It's a win-win-win-win-win-win.
All right.
That was too many wins.
That was about 5 too many wins.
Damn it, I fucked it up. Look, I'm at DCM. I hate pie.
I'm at Literal Citrus.
And we'll see you guys next week. It was probably a song that reminded me of it, or I'd done an Arnold Schwarzenegger voice.
Writing is definitely an isolating thing.
From an outside perspective, that's weird as
It makes
fuck.
us look really mental.
But that is
Because of what it kind of said about art.
I had fun in bits. There were fun bits.
We went and bought a value pack of straps.
Oh my god, we did. There's a big lesson here to learn about storytelling.